ultimately drive down wages and drive away jobs. Tim Hortons has hired an unimaginable 1,131% more temporary foreign workers in the last 4 years. In the first half of this year alone, the TFW program has imported 74% more low-skilled labor than in all of 2015. TFWs, the number of temporary foreign workers, is now 2% of our overall workforce, and a staggering number, an unprecedented number. Now, the Liberals promised they would cap the temporary foreign worker program at 82,000, but in the first 6 months, they've already handed out 105,000 permits. To put this into perspective, if they do the same number of permits for temporary foreign workers in the next 6 months than they did in the last, they will break the record again with over 200,000 temporary foreign workers coming in to take jobs when our own young people are facing record unemployment.
When it comes to things being Canadian, Tim Hortons was always on the top of the list. Even nowadays, when you say what is Canadian to you, a lot of people would say Tim Hortons. But now, over the last few years, we've had Tim Hortons being sold to an American company. You have Tim Hortons franchises in the U.S. now, which is not a big deal. It's kind of cool that Canadian franchise is in the U.S. But Tim Hortons, being Canadian, is no longer hiring Canadians. When Pierre Poilievre says that Tim Hortons is hiring temporary foreign workers 1,000% more than the average, than any other restaurants or any other place in Canada, it means that Tim Hortons no longer hires Canadians. If you hand in your resume to Tim Hortons and you got all the qualifications, although you live in this country, although you live in Canada, if you have a Canadian last name, or if you are born in Canada, it is safe to say you are probably not going to get that job. Now, remember when Charlie Kirk was considered a racist when he said that when he knows a black pilot is flying a plane, he questions whether it's DEI. People took it out of hand and saying that, oh, he doesn't want black people flying the plane. No, he's saying because the government had opened DEI, and DEI said that 50% of the workers have to be workers of color. It's not about standard of excellence. It's not about, who is the best pilots for the job, but you got to hire 50% minorities. That's what he was saying when, sorry, I lost my train of thought. That's what he was saying when he questions a black pilot. And it's not saying that he might be underqualified, but because DEI had him thinking whether that person's underqualified. Well, now, based on these stats by Pierre Poilievre, every time I go into a Tim Hortons now, I'm going to assume that every worker is a temporary foreign worker, that every worker is not a Canadian citizen in there. What am I saying now? This is crazy. The temporary foreign worker program, I'm not against it, because it's supposed to have a cap. And if the cap is at 82,000 and already 6 months into 2025, it's already at over 100,000. That means it's going to hit 200,000 temporary foreign workers when it's supposed to be the cap at 82,000. And this is the government that Canadians voted for. This is why. This is a prime reason why we got teenagers, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds, can't get a regular general labor job because there are no jobs available. This is why there's a huge list of resumes for minimum wage jobs, and the majority of them are going to people in their 30s and their 40s. This is a mess. This is a mess that Prime Minister Mark Carney does not want to address. Obviously, there's an agenda going on here. This is the reason why Pierre Poilievre says if he gets in government, he wants the end of temporary foreign workers, and it's not because he has a dislike for anybody that's non-Canadian. it's about putting Canada first again. Making sure Canadians have jobs. Why live in a country that you can't get a job when you're a Canadian citizen? And before I wrap this up, I got something personal I want to share, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I'm waiting for a pass for Transport Canada, a security clearance. I was hired with 13 other people. Not 13 total, so 12 other people. I was the only Canadian-born person of the 13 people. 12 of the people have now been cleared from Transport Canada for security clearance. One person remains that's not cleared. Guess who that person is? Yes, the Canadian-born person is still waiting for his security clearance, while 12 immigrants have their security clearance. Why are we in a country where Canadians are not first anymore? Think about that. You could be someone who's liberal right now and thinking I'm overreacting, that I'm being so-called racist because Tim Hortons is hiring a bunch of temporary workers. And it's not racist, by the way, because if you are a Canadian citizen, whether you're Indian, black, white, whatever, you should get first preference. Anyway, I want to know your thoughts on this. And the thing is, I drink Tim Hortons coffee often, but now I'm going to be looking at every worker like, oh, you're a temporary worker. And I don't know. What are your thoughts? Share and subscribe to Born with Purpose. Until the next video, God bless. I'm out.